Welcome, if this is your first time watching Who Remembers, the series where we discuss and break down my thoughts on games that are at least 10 years old or older. Some we are revisiting, and some we are playing for the first time. I'll try to keep it mostly spoiler-free by avoiding any major plot points. So let's get started. Ristar was another one of those games I never gave a chance. I'd see it in magazines, on the shelf at Blockbuster, but I always just kind of brushed it off. The only time I remember playing it was before making this video, and one other time for about 5 minutes on the Sega Genesis collection for 360 way back in the day, in the early 2000s. It honestly seemed like this generic platformer was some generic knockoff character, which is funny because Ristar's design actually came from an early concept of Sonic the Hedgehog. Honestly, I never knew that before I did some research for this video. Here's the other funny thing, I was completely wrong. Ristar is nothing like Sonic. It's so weird and wacky, there's so much random stuff going on, and I love it. It took a minute to get used to the controls, but after a few minutes I started to get a feel for it. The gameplay was surprisingly fun and entertaining to fight the next strange enemy. Platforming was solid, and it had a real Sonic and Knuckles vibe when you're swinging and climbing up the walls. Each level was vibrant and colorful with its own feel. One of my favorite parts is when you get to the end of each level, there's this little handle on this wheelie thing. You jump on it, you grab it, and spin yourself as fast as you can and then let go. And then it launches you up in the air and you try to go as high as you possibly can. And if performed correctly, it rewards you with a quick bonus level. Now that I think of it, maybe this is a Sonic ripoff. Either way, it's a damn good one. I will also say, it's a little confusing which direction I was progressing after each level. You see an evil pirate, Gritty, has brainwashed the other leaders of each planet. So it's up to Ristar to restore order to the different planets by defeating the monsters and boss leaders from each planet. Speaking of boss fights, some of them, by meaning all of them, were wild. The difficulty was solid, providing a challenge, but not too overwhelming. Minor spoiler, my favorite was the Hammerhead Shark. He's cool. So overall, the boss fights were a real high point for me, and probably the most enjoyable part of this game. Each boss fight was unique and offered something different than the previous one. The environments were involved with the boss fight too, which was fun and added an extra layer of challenge within each boss fight. Now, Ristar did a lot that I enjoyed, but I have to be honest about a few things that I didn't enjoy as much. Number one on that list is the water levels. It seems like every platformer from the 90s had some sort of water levels. Don't get me wrong, you still get them in platformers still to this day, but they're not as prevalent as they were in the 90s. I mean, you name it, Donkey Kong, Mario, Sonic, they all had you gasping for air, desperately trying to return to the surface as soon as you humanly possibly could. At least in Ristar you can't run out of air like in Sonic. The trauma I had as a kid with Sonic panicking trying to find a damn bubble while that intense music plays forever haunts my dreams. All that being said, it's not nearly as bad as that example, but once I made it through the first water level, you go straight to another one. Is this really necessary to torture me 2 times in a row? So despite the water level, I was pleasantly surprised by how much better Ristar was than I originally thought. I didn't make it all the way through Ristar for this video, but I'm encouraged to go back and play it again in the future. One of my favorite things about this series is the chance to play new games or revisiting some of the classics that I overlooked during my childhood. If you're a fan of the 16-bit era, or just fun platformers in general, I'd recommend checking out Ristar. It's easy to access through the PlayStation or Xbox in the Genesis collection, which is a great addition for any retro collector trying to extend their library, or a great introduction for anyone wanting to break into retro gaming at a fair price. I'd like to say thank you for continuing to support the Who Remembers series and the channel overall. As always, smash the like button if you love retro gaming, comment below if you played Ristar, and if so, what's your favorite memory growing up with it? Consider subscribing for more scenic drives down nostalgic lane. Until next time, thanks for watching.
What are you doing? Killing time.
Well, what am I supposed to do?
I am sure you will figure that out.